NTV, the Executive Director at Albinism Umbrella. Many thanks for joining us, Miss Olive Namtebi.
Good morning.
Thank you for joining us. And a good morning to you. Thanks for joining us too, Madame Jessica Aldo, a tutor for special needs at the Shimoni Koa PTC.
It's my pleasure being here.
Good morning.
Good morning.
No doubt. As I've just said in the preamble, there is a bit of gray areas in numbers, incidents of where, but I do understand there is what is being described as a spatial mapping and profiling of persons with with albinism. Where are we right now? Just give us a brief on that particular study, which I believe is apparently a census.
Yes. Thank you so much, Chris. I'm excited and privileged to be here. Indeed, at Albinism Umbrella, we advocate for the plight of persons with albinism. But we could not do this without knowing who we are, where we are, and what are the real challenges.
That's right.
Today, Olive has albinism, but I don't know it all. So this is the reason why we went out to the field to do this.
Okay.
You know, so this report is a very detailed report. It went through the scientific rigor where National Council for Science and Technology had to approve it. We went through ethical committee clearances. So we did everything. Why is it very unique? Yes, it is a census. We went to every household. We asked people with albinism, asked parents, and what is so critical is we do not live in isolation. So we looked at the community perspective. You know, what are the perceptions towards people with albinism, or even people themselves with albinism? What do they think about themselves? Very interesting research that we have done, and very critical. We went out to the gatekeepers of knowledge in these places. For instance, the district health officers, the district education officers. We purposely went to cultural leaders in some of these places because albinism has issues of stigma, discrimination, and above all, there is a lot of ignorance about it. So perhaps it's that ignorance that causes the discrimination and
stigma. Okay, that's interesting. Of course, there is a lot that we need to delve into that report to hammer out the specifics of the population, the dynamics in terms of demography, but also where most of these people reside, the persons that are living with albinism. I do not know how, just give me a very rough but pinpoint picture of, in Uganda, for example, are there areas where you can say, I think we have more people living with albinism here than the other place? And is it something that is deliberate, or it is a case of natural selection?
Thank you so much. This particular one that we are launching focused on central, western, and northern Uganda. But we had earlier done one in eastern Uganda. We looked at, again, the region eastern. We had the sub-region of Teso, Bugisu, and Bugisu.
Bukedi?
No. Teso, the Teso region, the Busoga region, and the Bugisu. Thank you so much. So that gave us a certain number. Why did we go east first? It was unknownly, as if there were many people with albinism that side. Interestingly, today, with now the national view of where we are, Central Region has more people with albinism. From what we sampled 25 districts in these regions. Luwero has the highest number of people with albinism. And this is not in isolation, like you put it right. Why is it that? There is a research that was done in Ghana, and people with albinism tend to draw nearer to urban centers for maybe obvious reasons. Social services are better, but also because people with albinism are usually hidden in homes. So certain times, people just decide to be in a certain place. There are regions that, this is unconfirmed, that some people with albinism prefer higher altitudes because of the cool weather, like we found in eastern Uganda, and extreme western Uganda, like Kisoro side and Kabale. There are high numbers of people with albinism, but that is not scientifically proved. So it was very interesting to find that central Uganda has the highest number. of over 100 people in Central Region.
Okay.
Overall, I can say the number is Eastern Uganda, we got 263 people with albinism. In the rest of the country, we have got 548 people with albinism. I want to put a disclaimer, because yes, it is a census, and perhaps even Wubos would understand that they are...
Was it not brought on board in the conduct of the... In the conduct of
this, they are in the discussion, but they didn't go to the field. We used a Washington set of questions, so we got all this that was there. But you cannot, you need somebody's consent to be part of the research.
That's right.
For instance, in Sri Lanka, we found certain families whose belief was we should not be counted. We never included them. So that is there. But whoever was willing participated in this research.
Okay, that's interesting. You're going to have to explain a little bit more on that, why one would say don't make us part of that, yet they are pertinent to this particular issue. Let me come to Madam Jessica Audo, the special needs tutor. I know I should have asked this question first, but I needed to get a general overview of where we are. What is albinism?
Albinism is a condition. We always just say a pigment that supports the skin growth. So if it comes like less or not at all, and that is now in the scientific proven facts, and so it brings now the color not to look, she's black because she's Namtebi, so she's Ugandan. So sometimes it's hard to differentiate them from the white people. Of course, the white people also get albino. It's all over for all races. Yes, so for all races, that gene becomes less, and so it affects. And therefore, 3 things are affected: the skin, the eyesight, and the hair. And clearly, we have an example before us, and like she said, I am one of them, but I wanted to find out what is, and this research is for basically 2 things. It was for finding out the numbers and the perceptions, and like she has said, some refuse to be counted.
Okay.
Yes, please.
Oh, you speak about the fact that it affects all races. Of course, we've seen, I've been able to see a white man who is an albino, a white woman who is an albino. Somebody might not be able to differentiate, for example. Many times you find in communities where albinos, where there is less stigma and discrimination, they are called muzungu. It's part of positive aspects of discrimination. That, in a way, should be able to give a person who is living with albinism a bit of comfort that they are accepted within the community. Those are challenges. Take us through the greater aspect of challenges that you, the people living with albinism,
Thank you so much, moderator. The challenges faced by persons with albinism stem from home. The basic unit of any community is family. And that is where it begins, where there is certain rejection or outright rejection, one by either parents or both, unfortunately. It is that bad. I want to emphasize that albinism is genetic, a genetic condition from both. Mom and dad must carry this gene for me to look the way I do. So that is grossly misunderstood, and especially the men. Thank you for the men who have stood for our children, but for them, because they don't carry this child for the 9 months, they are quick to deny and say, no, that's not my child. So the first challenge that we face is from home. If they do not accept you as a part of that family, then who will, you know? So that is a very huge challenge, family acceptance. And then if you have not been accepted in a home, your basic needs, you remain wanting. I want to even put education is not a basic need for obvious reasons, but one of the biggest challenges again is access to education, access to health. Then poverty levels are high. This research shows that the more people with albinism in our family, the more inclined
the chances of poverty.
Exactly, which is very unfortunate.
Why? People living with albinism are not are allowed to be active in economic activity, or because of the discrimination?
Because of the discrimination. And again, I want to put it on record that there is society discrimination, but there is also self-discrimination. You know, I get to Jessica and I'm like, oh God, she's going to abuse me. When she has nothing, she said nothing. But because you feel...
Can I say this?
Please do.
There are two things, attitude. There is attitude of society towards people with albino. There is attitude of people with albino towards themselves. There is attitude of persons with albino towards the community.
Towards the community.
Just like she says, okay, how do I associate with her? But to give this testimony, Olive, I grew up in a community where there was an albino, and we called her Mzungu. She was taken care of. She was sharp in class. She was my age mate. She really looked Mzungu. She operated in a supermarket because the people who took her father, unfortunately, denied her. So the brother to the mother welcomed her and took care of. So she got all the help and went to school and looked beautiful. So I didn't know that people with albino were suffering until I started studying.
Okay.
Yes.
Is that what inspired you to study?
With special needs, it's an umbrella.
It's an umbrella.
Being a teacher educator, there are several conditions that we are looking at what affects the learning of a child in class. Yes. Okay. So this condition affects them. Yep.
Allow me stay with you on that particular issue, the learning of a child who is living with albinism. I believe that, for example, in a mainstream school within an urban center like Kampala, the discrimination levels must be a little bit higher, given the dynamics of or what the young folks go through. Take us through how some of these learners cope, and what exactly is done to help them cope.
All right. Thank you, moderator. When we came here, you welcomed us. If you didn't welcome us, what would be of us? Let me use that. So if they are not welcomed, the learning is going to be hard. Like I pointed earlier on, that they have 3 conditions. And in learning, the conditions we always look at so much as affecting is the sight and the hearing. Of course, these are called the sensory impairment. So the senses. So all it is senses. So yeah, the skin may not affect her so much, but the sight. How am I teaching as a teacher? Am I writing large print? Am I asking Olive, are you okay there? Is this light okay for you? That affection makes us say, Jessica likes me, and we will stay in class.
That's right.
And so, like I said, they are not with cognitive impairment, maybe of less, but the problem is the sight.
Sight.
So if I cannot identify the need of Olive cannot be in class. So the teacher of Olive did great job. That's why Olive is a director now. It means that there was someone following and giving that help. So whereas, yes, we are advocating for every teacher. That's why there is now a course. Special needs as a subject taught at PTCs. In universities is advocated every course must have the aspect of special needs, such that you have to get to know that these people are there and they need this help in order to learn better in class. So in some cases now, I can't say much of advocacy has been made, and like I am here still advocating for persons with disability. And of course today I'm in the ticket of albino, and of course the covers. Now when I'm talking about albino, I'm also talking about the people with visual impairment, because it affects their learning so much. So identifying, let me use Olive as an example of my child. Of course she is not.
I understand.
Yes, in class, I need to help Olive. I need to attend to Olive. Are you okay? Because sometimes maybe the skin needs a special oil. It's called sunscreen.
Sunscreen?
Yes.
Okay.
To keep, just like the white people when they come here, you see them with that whatever, the skin is so, you need to keep rubbing. Now, she's glittering. If she didn't have that, it be like it's all or whatever, and sometimes wounds come out.
Yeah, we always, I see a blister like, lesions. That is as a result of inability to be able to find those particular cosmetics or sunscreen.
I think how her hair is neat, you know, but if she didn't have it, it would be hard. And they're not cheap.
They're not cheap.
They're costly.
That speaks to what could be a very apparent issue, but perhaps not being given the attention that it needs. Economic inequality within the population of people living with albinism. How is that being addressed?
Now, I want, of course, to thank the government that disability has been elevated.
That's right.
Just last year, we got the very first Minister for Disability, Honorable Helena Samo. Yes, we need to give credit where it is due.
We got the very first Minister for people with disability who has a disability.
Yes.
Okay. Before it was a case of
minor
people who can't relate.
Yes.
You know.
Yes.
I don't know. That's another debate. But we are happy that we have a Minister for Disability, and disability has been amplified. But just like the theme for last year, there are invisible disabilities, and unfortunately, visible as albinism is among the invisible disabilities. You know, it's a paradox. But I want to add on the issue of challenges that we face. She's talked about the education aspect. There are other silent challenges. When I'm in class, my mom or my dad, there are a few fathers, but yes, they are there, has enrolled me in school. Yes, the teacher can pay some attention to me, but the children who are just, I mean, you look at a 5-year-old, there is this different child in class. And I speak from experience. There is someone in a certain school that I know. He's of an Indian origin. Kids are touching the hair, they want to do this. So the same happens to children with albinism. And if they have not been built from home, I really appreciate my mom so much, because when the things got tight, she would push you. She would tell you, no, without education, you are nothing. You know, like, Mommy, no, I'm throwing in the towel. Today it was bad. Today it was the worst. The sun burnt me. She's like, please endure. So that parental support is so key. The teacher, you accommodating me to help me sit in front. And by the way, that's not all. I can sit in front here, but then the body is far.
The body is far.
Can you allow me to go and see that later very clearly? And then the kids will not shout at me. So can I be protected to go through school? This research has pointed out so much. Many of our people stop in primary education, primary P7, and that's it. You know why? Because if you survive, let's say, P3, that is good. You are likely to finish P7. Poverty, highest on the rank. Then if you have survived that, the discrimination may push you out. And then the society looking at you or even the lack of the mechanism to maybe have role models. You know, they're like, but you, P7 it's good enough for you. Have you seen anybody above your level? So it's okay. And at times they even push us to certain professions. I remember one of the people was telling me, oh, you need to be a teacher. Yes, exactly. For you, that's it. On record, I am an accountant by profession.
You're an accountant by profession.
Yes, so we have to defy so much. For me, I have to break through so much to even reach a certain table. So that stigma, self and otherwise, is really high. On the health aspect,
just before you go into the health aspect, I'll be asking that question a little bit shortly. The fact that there could be underlying health issues that people living with albinism suffer that are either more frequent or the incidence is more than the average person. It could also be within the population themselves that there is a bit of a difference in that there are some who suffer a little bit more than the others, especially given the geographical dynamics. So if you're living in a colder place, I'm sure you're less inclined to suffer some of the lesions on the skin. But just to make a point very clear, especially in light of a revelation that has been made right here by the ladies, that within society we have fathers and mothers who must be able to accept a child living with albinism, essentially because this is a genetic issue. You cannot give birth to a child with albinism if you do not have a single trait of that. So to get a child and sentence them, you know, to a life of discrimination, a life of stigma, you as a father, it's a total failure. And this is something I should be able to tell the fathers out there and the mothers out there who might be grappling with a bit of issues on how to regard and, of course, treat some of these girls and boys. It's very important for the learning process. Let me get to the question that I was pushing to you. The fact that people living with albinism suffer ailments. Okay, I do not know whether the condition can exacerbate these ailments or it's a case of well, anybody else can suffer that particular ailment, and it's simply coming on to the fact that you have albinism should not be drowned.
Yeah.
You're taking it on?
You can.
Okay.
Yeah, please do. Please do.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
It is the condition. Now, one of the biggest health challenges we have is skin cancer.
Skin cancer.
Yeah.
Skin cancer accounts for 80% of deaths for persons with albinism. Just last month, we lost someone in Bulisa who ordinarily was looking very well, but just something, well, of course, cancer is a cancer. It can be, you know, doing
its
bad.
progression is very fast sometimes.
Exactly. And this comes in because our skin lacks melanin, that black pigment that you have.
That's right.
Should thank God for it. Eh?
Yeah.
For those who bleach, it's another. Yes, you do not know what you are missing.
Right.
Like you say, it's a debate for another day.
Exactly. So when you lack that melanin, your body is incapable of protecting you from the UV rays that are harmful to your skin. You know, so for us, without that, we devise the artificial sunscreen to kind of protect. You can find a 10-year-old with wrinkles. Why? The sun is very harsh for us.
Very harsh.
And it is interesting, and on this journey of learning, we learn, we unlearn, and relearn.
Yes.
I used to think, or I read about that the cancers are more after 18 years of age. We lost an 11-year-old to cancer, you know?
It's increasingly prevalent within the lower ages.
The sun rays.
The sun rays are hard, and
your skin cannot protect.
so it is more because of the condition that these cancers come.
Yeah.
Any other person can get skin cancer, but for me, the toll is really, really high, that if I don't protect myself, it's on the door. It's on the door knocking, and the sight. She mentioned about it, Jessica. Ours, even if I have these lenses, it is not correctable.
No.
No. You may have an eye defect, you go to Mengo, to any other eye clinic, and you get fair.
And more is of short-sighted. So if you see her look at her phone with the glasses, she has to put.
She has to really strain herself.
Put closer to see it.
Okay. She spoke about something earlier, the fact that apparently even going past P3 to some, especially within the far-flung areas, is seen as an achievement. Some are told that you shouldn't even be going above P7. Yeah. You are an educator, you are a trainer, and you deal with many of these young girls and boys. What is the picture like? Do we have a very concerted effort to ensure that whoever is suffering, or not suffering, that's a very wrong word, my apologies for that, whoever is living with albinism is able to access education wherever they are?
Yes, education, first of all, in Uganda, we know that we are advocating for inclusive education, and then education for all, where we say the UPE, you understand? Like, with inclusive, all children are supposed, regardless of their race, regardless of their age, condition, regardless of whatever, everyone to the nearest point school. You don't have to say, no, you go to the other place.
Is that being achieved? It's one thing to be on paper.
It's
and
being
here
achieved,
government
but
officials
it's
advocating for it.
It's being achieved, but slowly. I'm not saying 100%.
That's right.
But it is being tried.
How can it be done to achieve the 100%
Attitude
threshold?
is one. Attitude is one. Like she said, I was discussing with her and say, I had in my master's, our human resource was an albino. Very good. Said, whereabouts? She was very happy to hear it because she wants to see testimonies of people who have made it. Now, I'm hearing her say, if it was not for her mother, the other gentleman also, if it was not for his mother. He would not. Now in Uganda, it is donors. We find people who have made it. If the parents are not supportive, it is donor. Now, like this advocacy, she has to advocate. I believe if she sees a child with albino, and she will want to help them, make it so that the number comes. Okay, this talk show this morning is to advocate. And let me tell you, the attitude makes these children hidden.
Yeah.
So we have a desk in Ministry of Education with a fully pledged commissioner for special needs education. So that advocates in line with every department at least has somebody with special needs education. Even in the Curriculum Development Center has a desk for special needs education. I know soon they will move to a department. And so when I'm a panelist there as well, so we advocate for, when you're developing a material, what about this kind of a child? Will he take in? So those are the things we're saying that are trying to be put on ground. How do we help? Not only in primary, from nursery to secondary. That's up to university, of course, the tertiary is done by National Curriculum, National Council for Higher Education. So all this is being advocated. Attitude is too high, you know, and because you have overwhelming numbers in class, remember UPE, so sometimes you may like, oh, why should I attend to her? Yet you're supposed to attend to her. And right now there is a tool called National Identification Tool, which is being rolled out to teachers to know how to identify the need of a child in class. And it has 21 conditions. Of course, there are different conditions. So if you find Olive, who is albino, what are the suspicious things you would first identify? Eyesight. If it is eyesight, how are you going to help her? And so even in UNEB, people with disability are catered for. As long as you give a report, in school A, I have this number of children, and then we have assessed. Of course, there are also assessment bodies. We do not assess. You identify and refer. Like in Kampala here, there is one assessment center in I don't remember it very well. I may not. I don't remember it, but it's in some primary school. Yeah, which has been I think created by Crane, Children at Risk Network. That's an organization for.
I'm afraid I don't have a lot of information either on that. I would have been able to interject.
Yes, it's okay. Yeah, so it's helping to identify. You refer, and most people are like, how do I help this person? And I connect them. Please go, and it's done. And I don't know whether there's a little fee, but at least they help them serve the purpose. But the attitude of hiding the children because it brings shame. That's what most people think.
Okay, shame.
Yes.
Mindset.
Right. So if you have one albino on this, who do you want to take to school first? They say they are expensive because you have to take care of them. And so sometimes the attitude of teachers, of course, they're being helped. They say, it's time consuming. I have to attend to the other one. When will I make books and what? But slowly, people are realizing today you might also come up with a child like that. And we are now so-called normal. What, you know, the next minute, you might not be seeing.
Temporarily.
Temporarily, you understand? You know, you may not be, I say, please help me. You may call me.
Looking. So that means it speaks to the fact that we should be very, very attendant to everyone who is living with albinism, because the next minute could signify a drop or a crisis.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, you spoke about mindset change. I'll be coming to you shortly, and you'll be giving us a little bit of what is more like the takeaway from the report and what policy the decision makers should be able to look at and what you indeed want to communicate best. You wrap that up. But mindset change within the community of people living with albinism. I would, for example, suppose that to build confidence in the children, especially the young ones, there are a set of activities that are done, designed for them. Some of them could be, for example, beauty contests.
Yes.
You know, the ability for them to showcase the amazing beauty that comes with being an albino. Is that being done?
By civil society organizations.
Yes,
or it could be, it may not be that, but something else.
I think it's something to be, I was telling her that, you know, the albino condition is something that is put like a small thing, you know, it's not so big, not like affected, you know, so it's not so much sounding, and I was like, wow, I don't know why we're not bringing it so much, but with the research, of course, everything, it's the research. This is a baseline or whatever. But like, see the role model. That's why she's here. She's
no doubt, I must say, you're looking beautiful.
Yes, to every albino out there, to every parent with albino out there, see the example. So we need to take the children out of our houses to schools, and at schools, please receive the children, receive these people and help them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very briefly, as you wind up, what is the takeaway from the report?
One, the takeaway for the education ministry. May we have a policy at that level, because right now it is on the wish of a head teacher that I will report to UNEB. And as an institution, we are trying, but yes, may we have a policy for all head teachers to report learners with albinism that they need light print. We don't need assessment. For that one, we don't need assessment. Then we would want also in the health sector, one, sunscreens to be on the list of essential medicine. We've advocated it was once a cosmetic, heavily taxed. Today we don't have taxes. We thank you. We want it on the list. The last one is our policy makers. There are many.
My sincere apologies for taking you on that, but of course we don't have much time left to us. I would love to extend our sincere thanks for you making time, Madam Olive Namtevi, the ED at Albinism Umbrella, and of course Jessica Aldo, a special tutor at
Special Needs Educator.
Okay, so to speak, at Shimon PTC. Many thanks for making time and giving us those insights. You've no doubt opened my mind, and I believe so many people out there, on the fact that living with albinism is not a sentence in itself. No doubt, I hope you've